I'm watching Charles and Keith. Charles and Keith, Charles and Keith, Charles and Keith. No,
Charles and Keith have absolutely spoiled me.
In March 2023, Charles and Keith posted nearly $1 billion in annual revenue for their financial year. The under 30-year-old brand has amassed over 600 stores in more than 30 countries and a fan base of customers including the likes of Blackpink and Jennifer Lopez.
We can't see Charles & Keith just as a Singapore brand. It's really a global brand, and I think in terms of fashion, it probably is one of the most successful Singapore brands out there apart from Chicken Rice. Charles & Keith is as ubiquitous as that.
But how did a homegrown shoe brand go from one store in Singapore to a global fashion empire?
I didn't expect to build this business to this size. We just believe in what we are doing, which is focus on great products for our customers.
The story of Charles & Keith starts in 1990s Singapore, in a humble discount store tucked away in the heartlands of Ang Mo Kio.
When I was like 14, after school, helped my mom in this little shop in Ang Mo Kio. I really enjoyed the time spent there where I can communicate with customers, understand what customer wants, more of learning on the job, how to run a retail business. So that was where I found I'm really passionate about products.
But the Wong family's shop simply resold discount products and didn't design or produce any of their own.
So when I was in the store, sometimes I get frustrated. The colors or the qualities are not good enough. And I always vision how I'm able to go to visit factories and tell them the design that I want.
After flying to Milan for inspiration and Guangzhou to source for materials, a 22-year-old Charles decided to open his very own shoe brand, named simply after him and his brother in 1996. And so, Charles and Keith was born.
It was an opportunity for us to have a trial of how our store should look like. And we took it at Amara because there's a lunch crowd. And we renovated the store to be very clean line, to be very simple. We didn't really have a big plan about how this brand will eventually become. We just want to make sure that we create accessible fashion product for our consumer that's in the neighbourhood.
And these new products were a hit. Charles & Keith sat in the sweet spots of wearable trendy designs without a hefty price tag.
It's actually at a very affordable price point. I think that's really the beautiful place that Charles & Keith sort of lives in.
By the turn of the century, Charles & Keith had expanded to nearby regions like Indonesia. But there was one territory that Charles had his eye on, that many competitors had not yet conquered: the digital space.
These are some of my favorite tote bags from Charles and Keith.
Perfect, beautiful and versatile bag. It is so stunning. It's one of my favorite uni bags.
I think the early days, opening the right location, getting the product and brand out to the consumer is key. That was the formula to win. But today, I think the younger consumer is very different. The first touch point is social media, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest. So it's not the store location anymore. Consumer need to get aware of your product and brand through social media first.
The mark of a successful fashion brand today is about how fast they get the products into the hands of the consumer. So to get access to the product, to get it quickly, efficiently delivered to your doorstep, that's something Charles & Keith worked out really, really quickly.
In 2004, Charles & Keith became the first brand in Singapore to launch an e-commerce website. This caught the eye of business partners beyond the APAC region.
In 2004, when e-commerce was hardly talked about in our market, we clearly saw that this brand is here to go global and build something big. And that's how we pitched the Wong brothers to see the potential of bringing the brand to the Middle East.
This opportunity came in the middle of the Iraq War, but that didn't stop them.
Prices is not necessarily a bad thing. It's also a good time that you enter a market where the rental are much lower, where staff are easier to hire.
Breaking into the Middle East market provided the brand an unexpected business opportunity.
One thing I'll tell you about the culture. So if you see the Middle East women dressed in a traditional abaya, they have very limited options to show. It's the handbag, it's the footwear, and it's the glasses or the watches that they carry. So the handbags is a very, very important accessory as part of that.
It must be a matching shoes and bags. And that's why we developed the bags business. And today is half of the business come from bags.
And in 2011, just 15 years after the birth of the brand, an investment arm of the luxury giant LVMH partnered Charles & Keith with a 20% stake for more than 30 million USD.
I think it was really a seismic moment for Singapore, for Southeast Asia really. It really gave Charles & Keith, I think, fashion legitimacy.
This gave them the resources and backing needed to break into their next big market, China.
今天是小 CK 编织包的开箱。
I was lucky because timing was right. I have left the company here to my two younger brothers, Keith and Kelvin. So they both run the business here while I can focus on just the China market. And after 10 years, it was much larger than the Singapore company that we built. And today is more than 50% of our business.
Within 5 years, Charles & Keith bought back their stake from LVMH and is now fully owned by the Wong brothers. And their place on the global stage was cemented by collaborations with the right stylists, designers, and celebrities.
Oh, look, Hailey Bieber is wearing that pair of shoes that I love. My gosh, I will get it. And it's like under $100. So I think that's how they got in, was via good PR agencies, great stylists who work with stars, and then their products were kind of seamlessly worked in. It's no longer seen just as a Singapore brand. To the consumer outside of our waters, they just see it as a fashion brand that's very affordable and does high fashion collaborations, has celebrity endorsements, and so it's kind of win-win for everyone.
Till date, Charles & Keith has more than 600 stores in over 30 countries and ships to nearly 60 markets around the world through their online store.
This is just a small collection of what I have from Charles & Keith. It makes me feel really proud that I have a little piece of Singapore with me that, keeps me literally grounded. And wherever I traipse to, whether it's New York, Milan, London, Paris, Tokyo, these pair of Singapore shoes, it just takes me everywhere.
Despite being an internationally recognized brand, Charles & Keith still proudly calls Singapore home.
I think Singapore market is very important for us. It's where we started. Actually, after China, I was thinking I want to move to US or Europe to start new again. My parents is getting old and I lost 10 years of time with them. So I decided to move back during COVID. I want to spend more time with them. And also Singapore I miss Singapore, yeah.